Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 88 of the Crickpicks podcast. I'm Behram Kazi, who you can find at Def Mango on Twitter. With me is Estelle Vasudevan, back again. You can find her at Estelle_Vasudev, the number 1 on Twitter. And then there's Jarrod, as usual, who you can find everywhere. And of course, if you're new to Crickpicks, just to tell you that what we do on the show is that we take any generic cricket category and then we draft our top 5 each for that specific, cricket category in a snake-style draft competition. So the pick order goes 3, 2, 1. Oh, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. And sometimes what we do is that we combine to create teams. And that's what we're going to be doing today. But before we get into all of that, I have to tell you guys, it is my job to tell you guys that all of our podcasts on the Good Areas Network are powered by our supporters on Patreon. And you can become one of them by going to Patreon/Good Areas Podcast. And then you can enjoy live ad-free content. You can talk to us exclusively. And you can give us recommendations. If you want the next Crickpicks idea to be yours, go become a patron on Patreon. And this is, in fact, guys, a recommendation from our supporters on Patreon. Today, we are combining to build a giant ego cricket team. So what are your initial thoughts on that?
There's a lot of players who are going to be upset to be on this list.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, I thought it was quite fun. And I think that's the only criteria, by the way. We're not even going to look at the numbers. I feel like the egos are going to get these players selected today.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. What was your what's your training, Estelle, outside of being a cricket writer?
Psychology?
Psychology. Can you please explain to us what ego is then from a psychology point of view?
Yes, please.
I'm going to do a terrible job of it because I haven't looked at
We're going to do a terrible job of this whole episode, so I wouldn't worry about
Yeah.
this.
I know. I was thinking before recording that I made a decent comeback last week, but this is where I'm going to screw up.
Well,
I mean, basically, it's like people who think like very much of themselves, right? In this context. Right?
yeah, in this context for sure. I think it's the sense of self and then your degree of narcissism, right? I don't know.
But
Took it a bit further.
Well, no, that's what I was going to ask is, like, if you're a really great, like, I would suggest that if you're a great player, you kind of need a little bit of element of ego, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think it goes with it.
Yeah.
Are we looking at players who perhaps weren't that good, but have the ego, but have that importance? Or are we looking at players who are great and also have an ego? Like, that's, like, from a psychological point of view, what's the best way to go here?
I think the criteria should be.
Well, you're not a psychologist. Shut up,
I'm
Behram.
not, but like.
Behram, you tell us what you were thinking when you decided to do this pod.
Well, why don't you answer this from a psychological perspective first, and then I'll go there.
No, I mean, I wasn't thinking of it in that way, but like I've gone with players who are reasonably good, but have that kind of side of them that it's an actually interesting thing because it's sometimes justified, right? If you're good.
That's what I mean. I think it's a really weird one from that perspective. In that, like, there are reasons that these people have egos because they are really good. But then there's also players who perhaps have egos who aren't as good. And I don't know, kind of what direction that you want to go in that sort of thing.
I suppose let's just keep it subjective, however you perceive it, because for me, the list of players that I kind of came up with, they are like some good players in there, but all the 12 players that I wrote down are remembered for being a bit egotistical. Let's just put it that way.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, Jarrod, you do have first pick. You know that, right?
Yeah, it's Kevin Peterson.
Yeah. Good one.
I mean, I think if you don't pick him in that position, it's just like everyone's like, why are you doing this? But it's Kevin Peterson, right? Like, am I wrong?
No.
Like, is there anyone else who should be on that list ahead of him at number 1?
I don't think so. He was my first pick as well.
Okay. He wasn't mine, so.
Okay. I just think from a number 1 perspective, it's Kevin Peterson is the most number 1, only because he's almost the most remembered for his ego of any player ever, right?
Yeah.
So there might be players with bigger egos, but whether they're more remembered for that part of their thing. So yeah, KP for me.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, KP would have been first pick. Not for Estelle, though. I'm keen to see where she goes with
I
this.
really want to see where she goes there. Yeah.
But yeah, I also thought, like, when I even perceived or read the idea on Patreon, and then I was like, okay, we could do this. KP was the first name that came into my mind. So I suppose just based on that, he's first pick. My turn next.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Gautam Gambhir.
I
Why
wouldn't
not?
have even had him on my list, right?
Really?
And it's interesting how many. Like, I did a quick Google search list. I don't want to pretend. Some people are like, "Oh, you guys did a Crickpicks. Didn't you mention this?" I was like, "Yeah." Sometimes I do upwards of 2 minutes of research on Crickpicks, right? If I'm forgetting names, it's just because I'm forgetting names. But every time I researched it, Gautam Gambhir was like in the top 2 or 3 every time, just behind KP. Like, even when there were obvious picks to go ahead of him, I never really thought of him as this sort of a player. I kind of thought of him as like a Justin Langer sort of, maybe a slightly more arrogant Justin Langer, right? But that kind of I'm going to fight you in the trenches sort of guy, and you're just like, Gautam, you're talking to a wall. There's no one there. Like, do you know what I mean? Like that kind of a guy. Everyone hates me, and it's like, no one's even thought about you in 3 weeks. Like that kind of a guy. But, so what is it that you think makes him have a big ego? Because obviously you're not alone. And it's mostly Indian fans writing this.
That's true. I mean, I think a lot of Indian and Pakistan fans who are watching this, and anyone, I suppose, from the subcontinent, even actually, I can't speak for all Sri Lankans. Estelle can probably tell us. But for me, Gautam Gambhir, like, I remember him for his ego or his antics more than I actually remember him for his cricket. And he was a pretty good, like, very, very good cricketer for a couple of years or more than that, like 3 years or so. But it is overshadowed by Gautam Gambhir, the character. So I suppose that's where I kind of brought ego into it. And he's the sort of person who is very staunch with his opinions, which is something he shares with KP. If KP wants to die on a hill,
fair.
KP will die on that hill twice, right? Like, that's just the sort of bloke he is. So I feel like GG definitely qualifies. I thought that if you wouldn't take KP, I'd take him, but Gautam Gambhir had to be my first pick if you did take KP.
Good start. I can't wait for what Estelle's going to do.
Yeah, she's got 2 picks in a row.
Okay, so yeah, I've got 2 picks in a row. So my first pick would have been Chris Gayle, just because like the guy calls himself universe boss, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm interested with Chris Gayle. I remember interviewing him kind of at the peak of the first part of his fame. And I've spent time with KP as well. I kind of felt like there's a little bit of performance with Gayle, where he's like, I need to sell this, right? I've got a big personality and I want to sell it. Whereas I think, and not having a go at KP here, I just think it is part of KP's personality. But that's having spent time with both of them, and I could be wrong, but I think Gayle has to be on this list as well, right? Like, I mean, but you know, one way or another, even if it is a bit of a play and a little bit of a marketing gimmick, you're still called the universe boss, aren't you?
I mean, he did miss out on the wrestlers one, right? So I suppose he has to make the ego team. He often even like will refer to himself in third person. I feel like he's good enough to fit the bill for this particular team. Although he would be the happy ego guy.
Yeah.
You know, he's not the grumpy one.
he'd be happy he's on this list and he's number 1, right?
I suppose so. He is the universe boss,
Oh,
right?
number 1 for me.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Okay.
So we've
My
actually
second one.
just picked batters thus far.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a bowler for my second pick. Again, someone who basically named himself, right? Like, or he calls himself something. Shoaib Akhtar.
Yeah. He was on my
The
list.
Rawalpindi Express, yeah. Because, like, I mean, he was obviously a great, very good cricketer, fastest, you know, and, you know, he in a sense, you should be proud of your achievements at that level, right? When you're that good. But again, he had that kind of attitude to himself, didn't he?
Shoaib Akhtar is the sort of bloke, at least on camera, because I did hang out with him once and he was actually pretty nice with me. But on camera, he loves to toot his own horn. He looks at himself as the fastest bowler, and that's just how he speaks. That's the entire sort of narrative, right? That, oh, I am Shoaib Akhtar, and now you are lucky to be listening to me talk about XYZ. That's kind of how he just operates on camera, at least. So yes, of course, like he was on my list as well.
Yeah, he was also on mine.
What a solid start for Estelle since she's been back. It's
She's
like
done well. Yeah.
She's been preparing for cricket.
But she was very nervous as well. So,
all right.
You guys haven't heard the rest of my list, so.
All right, so it's back to me. There's the obvious prehistoric pick, but I don't want to go there yet. I'll just leave that for Jarrod. Yeah, because he always ends up...
Also, I don't know where we fit him into this side because we've already got two
Yeah,
openers.
yeah.
Yes, that's
We've
also
got the
true.
openers.
So
So
we
we will talk about that guy later.
True. We need a middle order batter, and I only have one name kind of banging against my brain, or the walls of my brain, and that is Marlon Samuels. I think he definitely deserves to be on this team. The sort of dude who came into a press conference and had his feet up on the table. Then we all remember the big fight with Shane Warne. And he's generally the sort of guy who you probably don't want to get into a bit of a kerfuffle with because he's probably going to get or make things really ugly.
So I think I've told this story before, but I might not have. But I'm writing about the West Indies winning that World Cup, and obviously it's a huge moment because of the colours Brathwaite thing, and I've got this, and I had this massive piece that I was writing, and I'm like really into this piece, and the then ICC manager, who eventually was fired in disgrace from Cricket Australia for some things you can find online if you want to find them, but he ran up to me, and I can't remember who else, but there was someone else as well, and he's like, "You won't believe this. Marlon Samuels has his feet on the desk right about that." I was like, "I probably won't." And he's like, "What? It's the most disgraceful thing I've ever seen in cricket." I went, "If that's the most disgraceful thing you've ever seen in cricket, you should open a book." But it's funny. Again, I saw Marlon Samuels on a lot of those lists online, and I was like, "Okay, really?" But I think you're probably right. I think he probably is a player that was a bit like that. But he certainly, I think it's fair to say he marched to the beat of his own drum, Marlon Samuels. He lived his life exactly the way he wanted to live it.
Yeah. And also he would get into a lot of, verbal spats with his own teammates. Like I've seen shit on Twitter. He seems like a very opinionated guy. I'm sure there's a nice side to Marlon Samuels. At least I want to believe that there's a nice side to Marlon Samuels. But then there's some corruption in that career as well. So I don't know where to go with it.
Yeah, it's a weird career. Okay. There's another obvious opener. There's two obvious openers that we now can no longer fit into this side unless we get really dodgy. And they are definitely in the top 10 most egotistic players of all time. So they're definitely going to be left out. But I'm going to go...
Gautam Gambhir could drop or bat at first drop.
Could he?
He's done that a few times from what I can remember.
Did he do that in Test cricket? I'm trying to remember.
He might have done that.
Okay. While I look that up, I'll tell you who my next pick is. I'll go bowler, just because we need a couple of extra bowlers. I'm going to go Richard Hadlee.
Nice one.
Now, Richard Hadlee, the most famous story, of course, is that he kept winning player of the series and player of the match. And the unwritten rule in cricket, and I believe it still exists, is that if you win those awards, you take the prize money, or you take the prize and you sell it and you split the money between the entire team, right? So you don't take those checks themselves. There are certain teams that have gone in different directions for various different reasons, but this went on for ages. And so after winning a couple of these awards, Richard Hadlee said, yeah, I'm not going to do that anymore, guys. I earned this. I'm the best player in the world. I'm going to continue to win these awards, and you're not going to get the money. To which Jeremy Coney, I believe, said to him, "So you don't want us to take the catches and slips anymore?" Which is one of the great retorts in cricket history. Hadlee just, I think there's probably, and it'd be interesting to know, I think some of these people, I think you'd say it with KP, and maybe even Gale at times, there's probably a bit of a fragility behind this. And we see it as something that is 100% ego-driven. But sometimes that's a fragility that you don't feel like you're being let in and everything else. I don't think Richard Hadlee had that. I think Richard Hadlee was purely, I am great. I'm great at everything. Why isn't everyone else as great as me? And this is how it goes. So I think he might be one of the most pure ego sort of people in the history of the game. Now, while I've been telling you that story, do either of you disagree with Hadlee? Was he on any list?
I swear.
So openers, I just had a look. Gautam Gambhir only didn't open 3 times in his career.
Ooh.
And I'm going to assume that Chris Gale always opened. Is that also fair?
I think that's fair.
I'm trying to remember.
Should be, yeah.
I know the exact 2 players you're thinking about.
Did Gambhir bat at 3 during the IPL when he was playing for Delhi? I think
He's
that
definitely
might be the
batted
only
at
time.
3 for India, but I don't think he has in Test cricket. Oh, but are we doing all format? I suppose we are doing all format here, aren't we?
But
We're doing
also,
any format,
Jarrod,
right?
like, you could probably save one of those players for 12th man as well, because that always works.
I'm doing this is live research, everyone, to see if Gautam Gambhir has ever faced anywhere else, because I just think that one of these other guys has to be in the side. And let's have a look. Gautam Gambhir has batted 48 times in limited overs cricket. I'm fine. He's going down to number 3. Jeffrey Boycott.
Yep.
Is opening the batting for this team. Just like a man who openly campaigned for his own knighthood, like for decades, right? Like, to the point at which he said, "Oh, maybe I should have gone blackface to get a knighthood." Like, my God,
yikes!
I actually think he was a great player, and I think because of his personality and the way he annoyed every single person he ever met at a certain point, even his friends, I think he's not remembered as much. And I think he's fighting for his own legacy, but he doesn't realize that in fighting for his own legacy, he sounds like a dick almost all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he just does. He just, he just always sounds like a dick. And because of that, I think he fits perfectly into this side. So I'm moving Gambhir down to 3, and I'm putting Jeffrey Boycott in at the opening position.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. He was in my team as well. I recently heard Sunil Gavaskar tell a story where I think Jeffrey Boycott was in a cab in the Caribbean, and the taxi driver was all praised for Boycott's. I don't know. He said, like, your 78 was amazing, this, that, the other. And when Jeffrey Boycott, gets out of the cab, he is pissed, and he's like, I scored 79 or something like that. Like that's the dude we're talking about over here. So obviously he gets into this team, and I'm more than happy to slip Gambhir down at first drop. Anyway, back to me. But before I make my pick, let us take a short break. You guys are watching Crickpicks with Jarrod, Behram and Estelle, and go nowhere, because we will be back in like half a minute.
This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. If you want to be part of the community that makes content like this, head over now. My latest book is The Art of Batting. It delves deep into how the best players ever made their runs. Get your copy today.
Welcome back to Crickpicks. You guys are with Jarrod, Behram and Estelle, and we are currently assembling a cricket team of cricketers with giant egos. It is my turn. Jarrod, what is our team looking like?
We have Chris Gale. Jeffrey Boycott, Chris Gale, Gautam Gambhir, Kevin Peterson, Shoaib Akhtar. And number 9, I forgot to put in Richard Hadley.
Yeah, and there's Marlon Samuels in there somewhere as well, from what I remember.
Oh yeah, sorry, I missed a couple. Marlon Samuels as well. Yeah,
probably at 5.
So what? Marlon Samuels is probably 5 or 6, is he?
Yeah, he's probably 5, I reckon. The tricky part in this team will be the wicket keeper. I don't want to go there, and we've picked up a few people.
Oh, that's not difficult at all.
Oh really? I've completely blanked out. Then it's good that you guys are feeling confident about the keeper. Then, so I think we've picked up quite a few players who were either grumpy or were too stubborn or just loved to, kind of praise themselves. That's the kind of realm that we're in right now in this current team. I want to go ahead and pick a great of the game who was kind of celebrated for his ego, but the ego was massive. So let's go ahead and pick Shane Warne, because why not, right? It's weird.
Yeah, I think
Warne
he
is
could have
actually
gone earlier as well.
Yeah, he's actually loved for that element of his personality, right? Whereas that's not the case with everyone else.
There was something about Warne. I've written about this with Estelle's favorite player, Michael Clark, before, where it's interesting that they were both actually very similar, but there's something about Michael Clark where everything was fake and everything was put on and everything was stylized. And with Warne, you just knew that he was a doofus. So even when he was being egotistical, some of it was just him being a bit of an idiot, right? Do you know what I mean? It didn't come across as mean as it probably should have, because you're like, yeah, but we saw you, dancing around with your man boobs out last week, sort of thing. And so, I don't know, he just sort of got away with it in a way that, as you said, other people don't. And there's another player as well that, we could also fit into this side that's very similar.
True. It is quite peculiar in that sense that all of Warne's antics were tabloid news, but in a good way. Even though he probably faced a lot of I don't know, mental health issues, or maybe he didn't because he was constantly in the tabloids, but he was looked upon as this hero. And you don't always get that with people who have big egos, I suppose. Or sometimes you do, and Warne is an example of it. All right, Estelle, back to you. Last 2 picks for you, actually.
Okay. Yes, here is where I mess up, because I don't have a pick, right?
Yikes.
I don't have something that I can really justify. But one guy who kept appearing in a lot of the researches was also Yuvraj Singh.
Yeah.
I think he's an interesting pick because he was obviously talented, and he had that kind of self belief, but he didn't quite reach those levels that people expected.
I don't know.
But since I'm so not spoiled for choice, I'm gonna go with him as a middle order bat in this side.
It's interesting. I've never looked at Yuvraj as an egotistical guy, weirdly enough. To me, he's always been super down to earth and, very easy to talk to sort of bloke, or seems like that. I know he must have
But I
appeared
think
in
on the
these...
field, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's pretty well known for having a pretty big ego, isn't he? Like, I think, so, I mean,
looking
I
at the
wrote about his
person,
ego
Behram.
back during his career.
Oh,
So,
well. Then that's
yeah,
fair.
I think he's pretty well known as that kind of guy. I don't think if I was picking a batter, that's the guy I would have gone. I might have gone with a West Indian great
Well,
who had,
anyway,
who no longer can fit in the side.
it's interesting how you guys have actually researched for this, and I actually just wrote down a few names.
Research meaning Googled, right?
I mean, research is pushing it a little bit for me.
I didn't even Google anything.
I was Googling stuff as you were doing the intro to the show. So if that's research, then that's what I did.
Fair enough. Okay, then we have Yuvraj as well, somewhere in there batting. Who else do you have for us, Estelle?
Okay, so now
Look at her
again,
face.
You could pick
another
the,
problem.
You could pick the obvious prehistoric pick, and we can just have him as 12th. Honestly,
Yes, that's what I was gonna do.
Yeah.
Really.
literally.
So I'll
That's
go. See, I was leaving it for Jarrod because he's the one who would talk about him. But WG has to be like. I mean, he was in my 11, right? He was opening with Gale,
Yep.
and he's known for being just this crazy character. I think he's featured in probably the most number of Crickpicks we've done because he's been in like
Yeah.
the biggest cheats and so many weird little
he's
like
been
the
in
weird
everything, yeah.
weird.
It's
Yeah.
between him and Bumrah, isn't it? Those two guys always
Yeah.
get picked. But recently, I've noticed how WG Grace has started to go a bit later in these Crickpicks picks, and that is fascinating because usually he was
He
always
could have
first
gone.
pick.
Yeah, he could have gone.
He could have
first,
gone first, right?
Yeah.
He could have gone
Probably.
first. Yeah, I mean, I think KP just because of the last 50 years, he's kind of the poster child for this. But yeah, WG Grace could have gone first. His ego was ridiculous. He monetized it as well. Like, so he's almost like a combination of KP and Gale in some ways. In the head, it was, both. But yeah, okay. So we'll put him in at 12th at the moment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That does make sense. I mean, he had to go. I thought of this as well. He didn't make my first 11, but I was like, WG's obviously somewhere in there, so I had him as 12th. Okay. So what's our team now, Jarrod? Because it's my last pick.
Boycott
You didn't
Gale,
keep it,
Gambhir,
right?
Peterson, Yuvraj, Samuels, Hadley, Warne, Shalbaktar. So we're missing a wicketkeeper and a bowler.
Okay, so I cannot go for the West Indian then because he's a light bowler, which is unfortunate. I really wanted him to be on this team. And Jarrod even got into a fight with him at some point of his career. Now I'll go for an all-roundery bowler because I think Beefy Botham has to be on this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he gives us enough with the ball and with the bat, and the balance of this team is looking great. But there are a few of those guys. All of these, great all-rounders have a bit of that. Like Imran was another case, for instance.
Yeah, I was thinking the same.
But Botham, I don't know, for some reason, ego really comes out to the fore when you think about him. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, he's that party animal who only cares about what he does, and whatever he says is the gospel truth. Like, he has that energy about him.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would argue. I don't think he might be one of the few players who's happy to be on this list.
Yeah, I suppose so. Anyway, you need to pick up a keeper now, Jarrod, right?
Yes. Now, when we talked about keepers before, Estelle did a funny face, and I was wondering if she was thinking of Dick Weller.
No,
Because Dick Weller did have a pretty high theory about himself for a player who didn't make a lot of runs. And I was wondering if we were going to get a random Dick. And I would have supported you, Estelle, just so you know. If you'd gone Dick Weller, I would have been like, that's fair. Do you agree with that, by the way?
I don't mind it.
I hadn't thought of him even, but yeah. If it's-
So I don't think my pick for keeper was a good one. I had Healy. I think you'd find a better one than Healy.
I don't think Healy was that egotistical. I mean,
Yeah.
Matt Pryor, Rod Marsh, Brad Haddon, Johnny Bairstow, I think are all
Haddon.
ones that I kind of thought. Is McCullum someone you would say has an ego?
Nah, I don't think so.
Yeah,
No,
I wasn't
I
sure
don't
about that
think so.
either. So I'm going to go back a little bit further and say Farouk Engineer.
Okay.
I think if you've ever heard Farouk Engineer speak, it is like he is a ridiculous and I've commentated with him before. I've interviewed him before. Farouk Engineer has like an ego of a player who averaged 50. And like he was good, don't get me wrong. I think he was a really good player, and I've talked about this before, but his ego does not match what his reputation was at all. And I love that. I absolutely love that about him. Like, larger than life character. He's entering a room 5 minutes before he enters it. Every story is about it's not just about his ego as a cricketer. I'm pretty sure he claims Sachin Tendulkar as his pick and everything. I just think Farouk Engineer, I think, is a perfect one. But yeah, Wicketkeepers was a bit weird. Matt Pry's going to be really angry, by the way, that I've put him on this list at all. But if you look at them, there isn't any I don't think there's that many people in the sort of the top wicket keepers of all time. Rod Marsh is another one I think would have been quite interesting as well. Again, probably someone who would have been very angry to be on this list. But I think Farouk Engineer, again, I don't think he'd be upset to be on this list. He'd be like, yeah, I did have a big ego. I was good. And you should all know how good I was.
He's got a stand at Old Trafford now, right? Named after him. So
is it a stand or is it a? Yeah, it is. It's something, isn't it?
It is a stand. But I'm glad that you took Farouk Engineer, because now that I think about it, everything that I've ever heard of him, it's that larger than life character or along those lines, So it makes perfect sense. All right, so honorable mentions. There are two names.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that really.
I mean, we've
three.
we've somehow managed to do this without maybe the most obvious one. So this is like, of all the ones we're going to get abused from, this one will be the highest.
Yeah. Anyway, I had quite a few players in there, right? Like, I think the biggest miss is Kieron Pollard. I really wanted to have him in somewhere.
You think Kieron Pollard has a bigger ego than Viv Richards?
Oh, true. Viv Richards is also in this.
Viv Richards is not in this team. Virat Kohli is not in this team.
Virat Kohli, yeah.
Yeah.
Are they not two of the most? I mean, again, you can argue like Shane Warne and Ian Botham, completely warranted. But my God, the egos on them. I mean, Viv Richards' ego averaged 25 before he even came out to bat.
That's true, actually. I didn't even think of him, actually. Weird. I should have. I also had Imran on my list, and I was like, probably one of Imran or Beefy gets in, and that's exactly what ended up happening. Because you can't have two of those players. So I'm quite happy that I went with Beefy over Imran, because there's something just a bit more, I don't know, in your face about Ian Botham than Imran.
Yeah, it's a different kind of ego, isn't it? It's funny that you guys say Kieron Pollard, because maybe because I know him a little bit, but I wouldn't put him on that kind of a list. But he has a sort of quiet belief in himself, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, which Imran had, which is very different than Warne or Botham or some of these other guys. That is it's very loud.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Last.
Yeah, someone
person,
like Sidhu doesn't pick someone like.
That's got Sidhu.
Sidhu is self-deprecating when he talks about his batting. By the way,
the Indian Jonty Rhodes, something like that. I recall.
Yeah, but he's making fun of himself.
Yeah,
I don't think he really believes it because he couldn't field.
He's always making fun of himself. But
I think Navjot does have an ego. Like I don't think you would say he doesn't, but I don't think you could put him in this list. I did see him mentioned a few times though as well. Michael
and
Clark,
Srikanth, right?
Michael Clark.
Yeah, Michael Clark was also in my long list.
Oh, how do you guys feel about Glenn McGrath?
No.
No?
It's an interesting one, McGrath. I don't know if. Yeah, I don't know.
It was more mind games, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if it was very ego-y. He's kind of a bit just. I feel like he's almost like the world's best plumber, Glenn McGrath. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, oh yeah, I'm really good at this, and I'm always going to be really good at this, and so I'm going to get you out because I'm really good at this, rather than being like, I'm going to get you out because I'm brilliant, like I'm a genius, or like I don't know. I didn't have him on my list. I had another Australian, which was Dean Jones, Behram's best mate, who could not throughout his entire career tell an anecdote about good batting without going, well, I played a shot like that once. Just was absolutely like everything was so around him. Glenn Maxwell, the Big Show, no Big Show.
I don't know, man. Like
I think that's another fragile projection ego.
Supposedly, yeah. I think now that you've mentioned
people,
it, we really should have had Viv
pump
in
him
this
up
team.
more than he does, right?
Yeah, perhaps.
What was that,
Maxwell?
Estelle? Sorry.
That people pump him up more than he does himself, right?
Oh, I don't know about that privately. Warner?
Yeah, Davey Warner. I mean, you've got openers in there already who probably have bigger
Yeah, I don't
egos.
think you fit him in.
Yeah.
But he's
What about
certainly...
Afridi?
Yeah, he's also a contender.
Yeah, I wondered... Yeah, Freedy's a weird one again. See, some of these players have presence, right? So I saw on the list Flintoff. Like, I saw people putting Flintoff on this, and I'm like, I'm not sure Flintoff had an ego, right? I think Flintoff's a performer, right? And he has presence. I'm not sure that I would say he has ego. In fact, again, you know, with people like him and Afridi, I wonder if it wasn't almost like a mask for, you know, allowing them to do things.
Yeah.
Hooper was another one I thought about. Carl Hooper.
What about Roger Harper? He's thinking.
Yeah, I don't know. Roger Harper, I just think Roger Harper was like a guy who was very self-assured in himself as a human being. I don't know if he was self-assured like in a cocky cricket way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, fair enough.
I saw Tino Best mentioned for another West Indian, if you're just looking around in West Indies. Not a lot of South Africans.
Andre Nell misses out once again.
What about Herschel Gibbs?
Yeah.
Herschel Gibbs probably is not bad.
Gibbs.
But is Andre Nell again, is he not another shy guy who not shy.
Yeah.
Shy is the wrong way to say it about Andre Nell, but another guy who's performative,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
True.
Who's the Kiwi with the biggest ego then outside of Hadley? It's probably Martin Crowe.
Probably.
There aren't many others. Like there is, it's not a long list, is it? It's probably, and they're all older as well. It's probably Hadley, Crowe, Glenn Turner. Like in the last 25 years, who's the New Zealander with the ego? I can't think of anyone. Maybe Cairns a little bit, Estelle?
Perhaps.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
like,
There aren't many though, are there?
Yeah. I think
Like,
it's just the
if
team
this was
dynamic,
Australia,
right?
we could literally do another 50.
yeah. It's interesting because New Zealand you don't associate that sort of behavior with them at all, at least this current New Zealand team. And it's good that Hadley made it in that case because they need some representation.
No, I mean...
Oh, by
what
the way, how about Shakib?
Oh, Shakib's a bit... not
Yeah,
bad either.
Shakib probably
I
should have gotten ahead of Yuvraj for me.
I was going to ask Estelle about Arjuna.
Yeah.
I don't think Arjuna had like an inflated view of himself, like as a player. I mean, as a
As a
administrator, as a whatever.
I was sort of thinking of the overall package of Arjuna is probably he has an ego.
Actually,
What
when
about
you
what
think
about
about
Sanath?
it, yeah, I wouldn't put them in the same category as these guys, right?
Yeah, I you know, Aravinda had an ego too, right? Like so. It's, I don't know, I found it's very weird. But as I said with Australia, you could go on forever. Like, Jimmy Ma had a massive ego, right? And it's just like, how many people listening to this remember Jimmy Ma, right? And you know, I could go through the list of like random Australian people who didn't even play cricket for Australia. Like, or someone like Stuart Law. Stuart Law had a real ego, right? Like, and again, these were talented
Slater?
players. Slater was probably another performer, I think.
Yeah, they
Right?
are.
You know, he had so many issues, as we now know, that I think with him, it was trying to like, you know, trying to fit in. I remember Ian O'Brien wrote a really interesting piece about Kevin Peterson during the whole many problems of that. And he said there was a point of time that, so I don't know how much you guys know about Ian O'Brien, but his background was that he was a school teacher who at 24, 25 becomes a professional cricketer. So unlike everyone else who comes through the system normally, he has this sort of back end way of coming in. And he always felt like he was an outsider and a little bit uncomfortable and he had all this. And so he would wear sunglasses and kind of walk around like, you know, and he was saying with KP, like how much of it is that he's an outsider and he doesn't feel like he quite belongs. And so he tries to look the part. And you know, that's kind of why I asked Estelle for a really good definition of ego at the start, which she did not provide.
Yeah. Anyway, I suppose we did somewhat manage something over here. Like we ultimately assembled a team. What does the team look like, Jarrod? And what are everyone's picks?
Jeffrey Boycott, Chris Gale, Gautam Gambhir, Kevin Peterson, Yuvraj Singh, Marlon Samuels, Ian Botham, Richard Hadley, Shane Warne, Farouk Engineer. I would move him up the order. I think I'd bat him ahead of Hadley in that one. Pretty deep batting lineup here.
Yeah.
Shoaib Akhtar, and then 12th is WG Grace. I went Kevin Peterson, Hadley, Boycott, Engineer. Behram went Gautam Gambhir, Marlon Samuels, Warne Botham. And Estelle went Universe Boss, Shoaib, Yuvraj Singh, and WG Grace.
think that's a pretty decent team. And they would definitely, you know, cause a few problems, not only for the opposition team with their cricket, but also their personalities.
I also love the fact that like we're going to be trolled by Indians for not putting Virat Kohli in
picking,
this list,
yeah.
which is the ultimate like what? And they're probably right, but at the same time, I'm not sure that you know that there aren't some other pretty good players here as well when it comes to ego. But there you
I
go.
mean, in hindsight, Viv really misses out. Like you said, his ego averaged 25. Anyway, that's it for this episode of the Crickpicks podcast. Do let us know who you think wins this and what mistakes we made and what sort of team you would have assembled had you, you know, attempted to create a 12 of, you know, egotistical cricketers. Anyway, just a quick reminder, you can go to goodareas.co and bookmark that webpage, and that can prove to be a one-stop shop for all the fun work that we do as part of our team, whether it be written pieces, videos, and podcasts. And you can go and become a patron on Patreon, and that will allow you to enjoy ad-free content and, you know, talk to us exclusively, give us podcast recommendations, and you can do that by going to patreon.com/Good Areas Podcast. All right, then we'll see you once again next week in another one of these Crickpicks episodes. Have a good one, guys. Take care, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.
I once made a pair in a club game, which is almost impossible to do. But I have been obsessed with batting my entire life. And so I put that into my new book, The Art of Batting. Being that I'm not very good at that skill, I decided to talk to other people who were. So I hit up as many contacts as I could just to talk about batting. Rahul Dravid, Brian Lara, AB de Villiers, Kumar Sangakkara, Ross Taylor, Susie Bates, Nasser Hussain, Ian Chappell, and so many, many, many more. I wanted batters to talk about how they and their friends made runs, because that is the art of batting.